From buying a pet tiger to purchasing a baseball team, here are stupidly expensive things that NFL players own. To start, let's talk about clothing purchases. Cam Newton not only raised heads with his fashion choices, but also kept fans guessing, what's he gonna wear this week? Newton stuck out, from a pajama onesie to a vibrant yellow suit, thanks to his creativity and boldness. However, competing with Russell Westbrook to become the face of fashion in sports came with a hefty cost. Due to the pressure to stay original, Newton spent boatloads of money on his clothing. Instead of repeating outfits, Newton made a pledge to himself to only wear most of his outfits once. And according to Newton, his price total from outfits, which he only wore once, easily ended up in the millions. Wow, how many hours a week does this dude spend shopping? I'm not sure I want to know the answer to that question, but I bet Odell Beckham might have an idea. Because similarly to Newton, OBJ has a gravitation towards fashion, but perhaps worth more than his entire wardrobe is an investment he made. However, OBJ isn't your typical investor. My man invests in cryptocurrency, and thankfully, Beckham hasn't gotten burned, cause the CryptoPunk that he purchased, called CryptoPunk 3365, is now worth $2 million. No wonder it's now his avatar across all of his social media platforms. Despite this massive purchase, $2 million doesn't even come close to what Tom Brady's gigantic mansion is worth. But first, you gotta hear about the expensive item Derrick Henry hooked his whole offensive line up with after his 2019 rushing title. Any guesses? If you guessed Rolex watches, you'd be correct. Not only does Derrick Henry carry the Titans, but he also takes care of his offensive linemen along the way. Man, I wish I was on the Titans' offensive line right now, or on the Ravens' offensive line. Because believe it or not, Lamar Jackson also hooked his offensive linemen up with Rolex watches after leading the Ravens to a league-high 14 wins during the 2019 NFL regular season.
Hey, thanks, Lamar.
Those are the kind of gifts that you definitely don't forget. But players also need their own purchases. So cue in Brady's mansion, which cost him and his wife Giselle more money than you can probably wrap your head around. $40 million. Sounds like the ultimate place for hide and seek. Good luck, seekers. Despite this insane price tag, Brady and Giselle had the money to spend. With Brady's wife, Gisele Bündchen, a Brazilian model worth an estimated $400 million, and Brady himself worth an estimated $270 million, this house is practically chump change for their family. That's one wealthy family because Tom Brady isn't even the one bringing in most of the money. It's his wife doing the heavy lifting. Man, I need a wife making that type of money. And that's ridiculous, but not as ridiculous as Chad Ochocinco's purchases. Don't believe me? Well, ask Ochocinco, who made two wild purchases of his own. Many know Ochocinco because of his last name change and on-the-field antics, but his purchases have also made a name for himself. The dude bought a tiger, for crying out loud. What could you possibly want a tiger for? Name one good reason. Well, I wait. You should know that Darnell Dockett, a former defensive end for the Cardinals, has a pet of his own, an alligator named Nino. I'm not quite sure which pet is worse. How about both? Clearly, neither of these two men are afraid to spend their money, especially Ochocinco, who also purchased a $100,000 truck for his 32nd birthday. Safe to say, Ochocinco isn't afraid to spend his money. What an odd and crazy expensive birthday gift. But it did make quite the entrance to a 2010 game against the New York Jets.
Brown Stadium today, this is his birthday present to himself.
And we all know OBJ isn't afraid to spend money. And not many people can outdo his CryptoPunk purchase. That is, except for arguably Odell Beckham himself, who made a splash by purchasing the most expensive pair of Chuck Taylor shoes in the world back in 2019. These shoes are truly one of a kind and ended up costing OBJ tens of thousands of dollars. But for some Converse? What the hell, Odell? And these Chuck Taylor shoes were designed by a street artist named Kai, who took over 4 months of handcrafting to reach the final products. Wild.
You think the bag goes down if he wears them?
It might go up because they get concrete on the bottom.
Most expensive Chucks in the world.
Bro, this is crazy. Actually, I want one of these. And I like this.
Who knew Odell Beckham was such a sneakerhead? But he isn't the only sneakerhead, because my man Patrick Mahomes is one as well. I'm talking about an entire closet filled with expensive sneakers. But surprisingly, the money Mahomes spends on his sneakers doesn't even compare to a purchase he made back in the summer of 2020. Coming fresh off of a $500 million contract extension with the Chiefs, Mahomes became the youngest owner in MLB history when he became a part-time owner of the Kansas City Royals. Now, the 49ers aren't the only team that Mahomes owns. Plus, Patrick Mahomes had a chance to continue the legacy after being drafted by the Detroit Tigers, but ultimately passed up the opportunity. Luckily, Mahomes can now remain a part of both the sports which he loved. He can thank his record-breaking contract extension for that. It pays to play quarterback. Speaking of which, Michael Vick, a quarterback for the Falcons and Eagles from 2001 to 2015, made plenty of cash during his heyday as well. Vick walked away from the game with over $100 million in career earnings, with some monumental contracts of his own. So what did Vick do with this money? He did something that no one expected. He bought an $85,000 fish pond. I know you didn't see that coming. That sure is bizarre. But I feel Michael Vick regrets this purchase. However, let's first discuss a car purchase that blows all the others out of the water. This car is none other than a Bugatti Veyron, owned by Drew Brees. Surprisingly, this isn't the only luxurious car he owns, but it definitely outperforms his other cars. This speedy car can go up to 250 miles per hour in under 3 minutes. What can I say? He loves fast things. Maybe that's why he targeted Alvin Kamara so much last season. With a car this luxurious and fast, it didn't come for free. In fact, this car is estimated to be worth a whopping $2.2 million. Sheesh. Speaking of Alvin Kamara, he also made an expensive purchase of his own worth tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you want to find out exactly what this purchase is, just look at his teeth, which are covered by a diamond grill. My man just one-upped the dental hygiene game. Imagine brushing those teeth. But don't be so quick to knock Alvin Kamara or Drew Brees for their purchases, though, since they also care for their community and those around them, which is why another one of Drew Brees' purchases made the host of Today, Hoda Kotb, cry.
Sorry. Oh.
On March 27th, 2020, Drew Brees and his wife, Brittany, made a $5 million donation to help combat the virus and help those in need. How thoughtful and caring. Despite all his wealth, Drew Brees never forgot about his roots. That's worth commending. Kudos to you, Drew Brees. And speaking of giving back, I'm going to be giving $100 to someone who subscribes within the next 7 days. So subscribe and comment to let me know.